Ash rained down like shattered memories, coating the cracked hull of the survey frigate Vigilant Dawn in a fine grey powder. Emergency sirens howled through its battered decks, their once pristine chimes now broken by static and the echo of distant explosions. Above the planet Pax Nova, in the burning shadow of a massacre, the last remnants of humanity's forward exploration team clung to life. Captain Ilara Sivron stood motionless in front of the main viewport, the starfield behind her, warped by the gravitational wake of the alien dreadnought that had come from nowhere, and annihilated everything. Imagine. What if this happened? To you from orbit, Pax Nova looked like a wounded animal. Blackened scars tore through its surface, boiling clouds churned into unnatural vortexes, and blue-white lightning lashed across the planet's now fractured magnetic field. The colony, that had once thrived there, 16,000 settlers, 12 years of terraforming and a decade of peace, was gone in under 4 minutes. No warning, no declaration of war, just fire, silence, and the grotesque elegance of a warship that should not exist. The dreadnought was like nothing known to the Galactic Accord. At over 8 kilometers long, it resembled a monolithic obsidian, spine segmented by glowing seams of blood-red energy. Along its ventral side, a triad of graviton cannons rotated in slow, balletic patterns, each capable of reducing a city to plasma within seconds. The hull was covered in moving glyphs, a language that shimmered like starlight caught in liquid shadow. Beyond translation or logic, it did not answer hails. It did not respond to threats. It simply came, destroyed, and watched. Captain Ilara's knuckles were white around the edge of the console as her tactical officers relayed grim updates. All planetary defenses neutralized, satellite arrays offline, the last colony distress ping swallowed by electronic countermeasures of unknown origin. Her command frigate, the Vigilant Dawn, had arrived only minutes after the attack began, lured by a priority alpha signal transmitted by Pax Nova's AI administrator. What they found instead was an open grave. "Life signs?" she asked, her voice low, almost reluctant. "Minimal, Captain," came the reply from Lieutenant Desmond Core, his face pale against the blue glow of the display. "Pockets of bioresonance, mostly underground sectors. Civilians in cryolock, perhaps, or survivors in reinforced bunkers. But the radiation levels are climbing." Her gaze locked on the glowing transmission, now pulsing from the planet's northern hemisphere, a subspace beacon that cut through the chaos like a knife through darkness. Its signal was unlike anything in Accord records. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than corrupted code. But on deeper analysis, the translation AI shuddered and returned a single chilling phrase in High Galactic: "They are coming." Before we jump into this epic tale, subscribe to XenoChronicles for the most intense sci-fi battles, legendary warriors, and universe-shaking wars. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and join the fight. The silence on the bridge was heavy. That beacon hadn't just been meant for them. It was a warning, broadcast to anyone who might stumble across the wreckage of Pax Nova. A call to arms, or a eulogy written in the stars. Ilara activated ship-wide comms, her voice now edged with steel. "Fragment teams Alpha and Delta, EVA readiness in 5 minutes. Retrieve any survivors. Secure all data cores, black boxes, and AI fragments. Anything that tells us why this happened." "Captain," Core said, hesitant. "This thing, that ship, it could still be watching us, waiting." Ilara turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Then let it watch. We're not going to run from ghosts. We need answers, before this happens again." Outside, the Vigilant Dawn maneuvered through the planet's high-orbit debris field, dodging the twisted remains of civilian satellites and escape pods, now frozen in perpetual drift. A lifeless body floated past the bridge's side viewport, its suit marked with the colony's insignia, still reaching upward, as if begging the stars for help that never came. The visual made the crew fall into a deeper silence. Below, the alien dreadnought continued to drift, inert, or perhaps merely waiting. Ilara reviewed the colony's last received data burst, a fragmented archive of excavation logs, encrypted personnel files, and seismic anomalies recorded in Pax Nova's southern quadrant. One image stood out, a subterranean chamber of impossible geometry, walls etched in the same glyphs now seen on the dreadnought. At its center, a pillar of obsidian wrapped in silver circuitry pulsed with unnatural rhythm, as if alive. A caption at the bottom read, "Found beneath Site Theta 9. Energy levels increasing daily, not of this world." Had the colonists uncovered something they weren't meant to find? Had Pax Nova's fate been sealed not by chance but by curiosity? The question tore at Ilara's thoughts. Humanity had always pushed the boundaries of exploration, of knowledge, of space itself, but perhaps in its ambition it had trespassed into the domain of something older, something buried for a reason. A sudden tremor rocked the ship. Alerts screamed across the bridge. The dreadnought was turning. Without warning, its forward hull began to reconfigure, shifting plates revealing a conical chamber glowing with primal energy. But instead of firing, it released something. A single sleek obelisk ejected from its underbelly, descending toward the planet's molten surface in a spiraling path. No one could tell what it was, probe, weapon, or messenger, but its trajectory was clear. It was headed towards Site Theta 9. As it vanished into the planet's haze, Ilara clenched her jaw. "We're going down there. I want recon shuttles on standby and deep core gear ready." "Captain, we don't even know what that thing is," Core protested. She turned to him with fire in her eyes. "No, but I know what it did. It wiped out an entire human colony in less than 5 minutes. And if we don't find out why, the next one could be Earth." Outside the viewport, Pax Nova burned like a forgotten prayer. And far beyond it, across the stars, the ancient engines of war were beginning to turn once again. The recon shuttle Ghostlight descended through Pax Nova's dying skies like a spear of silent vengeance. Wrapped in a polarized stealth field and layered with adaptive plating, the vessel shuddered as it pierced the upper atmosphere, breaching wave after wave of thermal turbulence. Molten ash swirled around it, caught in cyclonic winds born from orbital bombardment. Through the forward viewport, the planet's surface loomed, twisted and unrecognizable. What was once lush forest and glacial riverland now lay buried beneath layers of obsidian slag and glowing lava fields. Lightning slashed the clouds, and the scent of ionized death leaked into the shuttle's recycled air. Captain Ilara Sivron stood at the rear of the cockpit, encased in her zero-G armor suit, its surface marked by the scars of past campaigns. The HUD inside her helmet painted the landscape with telemetry, radioactive zones, unstable tectonic fractures, and bursts of unknown radiation frequencies the Accord had never catalogued. And beneath it all, the signal from Site Theta 9 pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, insistent, ancient. Her boots magnetized to the deck, Ilara glanced to her left. Sergeant Halveth Grin, a seasoned void breacher with 3 tours in the outer moor, was running final diagnostics on his plasma spear and shoulder-mounted grav cannon. Beside him, Scout Intel Officer Lyra Nix flicked through drone telemetry feeds, her fingers dancing across a control hollow with methodical precision. "Subsurface scans are chaotic," Lyra muttered. "There's a hollow zone 3 clicks beneath Theta 9. It's artificial, big, symmetrical, and alive." Ilara's brow furrowed. "Alive?" Lyra zoomed in. "No heat signature, no biological residue, but the walls of the chamber are resonating at low frequencies like they're waiting for something." A chill passed through the crew. As Ghostlight touched down at the charred outskirts of the excavation site, mechanical arms extended to deploy stabilizers. The landing gear hissed into irradiated soil, still pulsing with residual kinetic energy. Outside, remnants of the colony's dig team lay frozen in their final tasks, some half buried in ash, others calcified where they stood. Massive drilling rigs, long since melted into puddles of metal, jutted from the ground like skeletal remains. And at the center of it all stood the entrance to Site Theta 9, an enormous circular vault cut into the rock, its once sealed hatch blown outward as if something beneath had forced its way free. "Stay sharp," Ilara ordered as the team disembarked. Their boots crunched through layers of vitrified dust. Drones buzzed into formation, scanning the horizon, while Halveth swept. their perimeter with his grav cannon humming at full charge. The vault's threshold was lined with the same alien glyphs found on the dreadnought, symbols that seemed to shimmer in peripheral vision, impossible to focus on directly. As Ilara approached, her HUD flashed a warning. Neural desync detected. She blinked it away. The team moved deeper into the abyss. Inside, the chamber opened into a vast, tiered gallery, miles wide and suspended by impossible geometries. Walls curved at unnatural angles. Stairs led sideways into vertical corridors. Gravity fluctuated subtly, like a dream sliding out of phase. At the center stood the obelisk, 10 meters tall, obsidian black, wrapped in veins of silver and gold that pulsed with internal luminescence. And embedded at its base was a human body, or what was left of one. Lyra knelt beside it. "Commander Stenton Hale, Expedition Lead, Accord ID confirmed." Her voice cracked slightly. "He's fused into the stone, but the biometrics say he's only been dead for 30 minutes. Ilara's blood ran cold. "That's impossible. The attack happened 6 hours ago." Halveth scanned the walls. "You feel that? Like a pulse, like the room's breathing." And then the obelisk spoke, not in words but in impressions. Sound without vibration, thought without source, a pressure behind the eyes deep and infinite. It bypassed language and spoke directly to the mind in images. Flashes of stars dying, worlds consumed, great celestial engines forged by hands of bone and fire. And then a name. One burned into the captain's soul with a whisper that shattered. "Thought the Vossa." Lyra recoiled, clutching her head. "They're not machines, not gods. They're architects, builders of extinction." The room shifted. The silver veins of the obelisk flowed like mercury, forming a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. But instead of systems and trade routes, it showed void zones, areas marked with expanding crimson blooms. Pax Nova was just the beginning. The Vossa weren't random invaders. They were executing a design. The colony didn't activate the beacon by accident, Ilara said slowly. They uncovered it, triggered it. That's why the dreadnought came. The beacon wasn't a distress call, it was a lock. And they opened it. Suddenly the team's comms lit up with a burst of static, a transmission from the Vigilant Dawn. Kor's voice cut through. "Captain, we've got company, multiple signatures incoming. They're not Vossa, but they're armed and fast." Ilara's mind raced. "Rival scavengers." "No," Kor said. "Worse, Accord Black Ops, no IFF signature. And they're jamming long-range communications." The captain's stomach sank. It made sense. The Accord would never let a discovery like this go public. The Vossar were supposed to be myths, warnings from the early days of galactic expansion, whispered by broken survivors on dead channels. If the truth got out, it would collapse the Accord's grip on the outer systems. Entire species would panic. Borders would ignite. "They're coming to cover this up," Ilara whispered. "They'd rather erase us than let the truth spread." She looked to the obelisk. It still pulsed, its map shifting, showing an ancient Vossa gate network scattered across the galaxy, dormant but linked, and every one of them could be activated. "All this time," she muttered, "we thought we were alone at the top of the ladder." Halveth loaded a fresh power cell into his cannon. "Looks like someone's been watching us climb." Ilara turned to the team, voice resolute. "We're not letting this die in the dirt. We extract what we can, transmit a splinter signal beyond the Black Ops dampeners, and get back to the dawn." Outside, the sound of descending shuttles echoed through the atmosphere. Unmarked matte black transports carrying elite strike units trained to vanish colonies without a trace. Inside, the obelisk's light flared one last time, projecting a single final image into Ilara's mind. A world shattering, a child screaming, and a Vossa sentinel, watching. And behind that sentinel, something else. Something older. They hadn't just poked the beast. They'd woken the gods it once served. The air outside Site Theta 9 was no longer just hot. It seethed. The atmosphere shimmered, as if reality itself was bending under the strain of converging powers. Captain Ilara Sivron and her team emerged from the vault with a quiet urgency, their armor scorched from subterranean radiation and their minds bruised by the psychic echo of the Vossa's ancient machinery. Behind them, the obelisk pulsed like a buried star. still whispering secrets too vast for human comprehension. And above them, unmarked Black Ops dropships tore across the sky, engines howling like wolves on the scent. A soft vibration rolled through the earth beneath their boots, subtle, rhythmic, not natural, not tectonic, mechanical. "They've deployed ground skimmers," Halveth growled, his voice tight through his comms. "Full assault pattern. They're not here for containment. They're here for execution." Ilara's visor swept the terrain. "No time to outgun them. We split. Draw them out, give our signal drone a clear launch window. Lyra, upload the obelisk data core to a quantum burst relay. Fragment it. Send it across civilian comm bands. Scatter the truth." Lyra's voice cracked. "That'll trigger the Accord's data purges." "Exactly," Ilara replied. "If the Accord wants to bury this, let's make the graveyard galaxy-wide." With a gesture, Ilara activated her drone. Sen 6, a compact unit with a stealth mode comm relay and quantum entanglement buffer. As it launched into the dense sky, vanishing like a thought into orbit, she could only hope it would reach the vigilant dawn, or any ship, any station. That could carry the truth beyond Pax Nova. Then the first shot was fired. It wasn't a warning. A pulse of dark blue energy screamed across the plateau, carving a trench through the earth where Halveth had just stood. He dove to cover, rolling, behind the remains of a half-melted digger crawler. "Two hostiles East Ridge. Suits look like Gen 4 stealth exos. No tags, no heat bleed. Full cloak tech." The team scattered as more shots followed. Pulse rifles, gravitic rounds, and net disruptors designed to fry both brain and bionics. These weren't enforcement agents. These were cleaners. Operatives trained for one thing: silence. Lyra hit. The dirt, pulling Ilara into cover. "They're triangulating us. I need 3 seconds to mask the drone signal." "Get it done," Ilara barked, blind firing a flash round over their heads. The explosion briefly lit the battlefield in stark white, revealing 3 figures in active camouflage suits, racing down the ridge, faceless, agile, and utterly silent. In the chaos, Ilara's mind flashed back to her early years in Accord intelligence. She'd seen the files, the Redlock program, phantom units built from gene-cracked soldiers, trained in off-world neurolabs where loyalty was chemically reinforced and memory could be erased at will. They weren't soldiers. They were shadows with orders. And now, those shadows wanted her dead. Lyra's drone finished its broadcast with a soft tone. "Burst sent. Signals fragmented into 900 civilian channels. They'll purge some, but not all." Ilara smiled grimly. "Good. Then let's make sure we stay alive long enough to fan the flames." "Contact left flank," Halveth shouted. He rose from cover, fired his grav cannon, and caught one of the Black Ops agents mid-sprint. The force field bent around the operative's body before detonating in a sphere of implosive energy, folding armor and flesh into a microcrater. "Target down," Halveth muttered. "2 more, fast." But before anyone could react, a new signal broke into their comms, a sound so alien, so primal, that it made every neural implant spike in pain. It wasn't the Accord. It wasn't human. It was the Vosser. A low, choral hum rippled across the battlefield, and the very air changed. The sky above Pax Nova cracked, not visibly but dimensionally, like something was folding through, unspooling itself into reality. The agents stopped. Even they didn't know what was coming. Then, just beyond the horizon, something emerged, not a ship, a gate. It opened with geometric precision, carved not by metal or fire, but by force fields of impossible architecture, triangles within triangles, woven like fractals through time. From it came light, and from the light came the Sentinel. It stood 10 meters tall, bipedal but fluid in movement, its surface a patchwork of shifting crystal plates and liquid alloy. Its face was a blank void, and in its hand it held a staff of coiled energy that radiated across every known spectrum. Behind it, hovering in quiet menace, came 3 more. Halveth backed away slowly. "Tell me that's one of ours, Captain." "It's not." The Accord agents fired first, rapid pulse repeaters and graviton lances. The rounds hit the Sentinel's outer field and vanished. No explosion, no sparks, just nothing. Then the Sentinel raised its staff and unmade them. A wave of inverted light, cold and absolute, swept forward. The ground froze mid-air. Gravity reversed itself, and in an instant the attackers were reduced to perfectly preserved molecular statues, which then folded into a single point of darkness and disappeared. Silence returned. Ilara's team stood frozen, hearts thundering. The EC Sentinel turned and looked at them. There were no weapons raised, no hostile movement, it simply observed. Then it projected something, into Ilara's mind, not visually but mentally. An image of a great forge, suspended in space above a black hole, with thousands of Vossa sentinels laboring in silence, crafting, building, watching stars die, and deciding which ones would rise. A voice deep and eternal followed. It wasn't words, it was purpose, witness, learn, choose. Then the sentinel stepped back through the gate and vanished. The gate sealed behind it, as if it had never existed. Ilara collapsed to her knees, breath shallow, the truth pressing into her chest like a planet. The Vossa weren't just destroyers, they were something worse, they were judges. Pax Nova had not been erased at random. It had been evaluated, weighed, and found wanting. Halveth knelt beside her. "Captain, what the hell did we just see?" Ilara looked up, eyes filled with grim clarity. The beginning of the next phase. The Accord covered it up. But now we know, and we carry the truth. Far above, in orbit, the vigilant Dawn turned toward the stars. Its engines flared to life, carrying the signal burst deeper into the void. Across the galaxy, ancient gates were beginning to whisper to one another again. The Vossa were awake, and humanity had been noticed. 3 standard days had passed since the signal burst left Pax Nova's orbit, and already the galaxy felt different. Aboard the vigilant Dawn, silence reigned. Its crew, scattered, wounded but alive, drifted through the eye, void with one unified task: stay ahead of the Accord and find the next gate. In the command chamber, Captain Ilara Sivron stood alone before the panoramic starview, her hands clasped behind her back, eyes locked on the impossible geometry of deep space. The stars looked the same, but they weren't. Each system on the fringe, the forgotten colonies, abandoned mining routes, failed terraforming attempts, suddenly held new relevance. The gate network revealed by the obelisk had redrawn a foundation of galactic cartography. Humanity had thought itself the master of the spiral arms, its dominance secured by expansion and silence. But the Vossa had been watching for far longer than anyone knew, waiting, measuring. And now something older stirred in their wake. A soft chime broke her thoughts. Lyra entered the chamber, limping slightly, the aftermath of Pax Nova's escape etched into the slowness of her gait. "We found it," she said, voice low with awe. "HD 1897333B. No colony record, no trade route, just a gravity well and some abandoned pre-Accord tech, but it matches one of the gate markers, exactly." Ilara turned slowly. "Any movement?" "No, but—" Lyra hesitated. "The relay drone we left behind. It's still transmitting, or trying to. Something's interfering every 8 minutes on a perfect cycle. It's like the planet itself is responding." Ilara nodded. "Set course, full stealth protocols, no transmissions." As the vigilant. Dawn banked and leapt into slipstream. Its engines left a quiet trail of blue fire across the stars. In the war room, Halveth studied the fragments of recovered Vossa data. The sentinels, the forge above the black hole, the whisper of something even greater lurking just beyond human comprehension. It had all led to one conclusion. "This wasn't an invasion," he said, voice gruff. "It was a trial." He rotated the Vossa glyphs across the screen, overlaying them with star charts and mythological references from dozens of species, some extinct, others still too afraid to speak of what they once knew. The same symbols appeared in ancient ruins on Arcasis 9, in the dream archives of the Aurelian dreamers, even in the genetic encoding of certain telepathic species, long thought to be evolutionary anomalies. The Vossa didn't just destroy civilizations. They archived them, judged them, and for those found worthy, they opened doors to something beyond. A galactic covenant, older than war, older than memory. A test humanity never even knew it had. Failed until Pax Nova burned. The Vigilant Dawn arrived in system 2 days later. HD 189733b was a dead world, grey, mountainous, devoid of surface life. Its atmosphere was thick with ionized particles, perfect for hiding the gate from standard sensors. But as they approached orbit, the ship's hull resonated with a low harmonic frequency. The same tone the obelisk had used. It wasn't random, it was a key. The mountain range below them split open like clockwork, revealing a pit so deep it touched the mantle. At its center floated another structure, massive, spherical, composed of interlocking rings that never touched. And unlike Pax Nova's gate, this one was active. Energy spiraled around it, weaving in and out of dimensions, creating a ripple that extended far beyond what light could measure. This was no ordinary gate. This was a core gate, a Vossa throne world anchor. According to Lyra's calculations, the power signature from this one structure could ignite or extinguish an entire star. It wasn't just an entry point, it was judgment embodied. Ilara's voice echoed across the command deck. Prepare a drone for deep transmission. Activate the beacon. Send this message to every outpost, every neutral species, every accord. Citizen still listening? She turned to the holocam, her eyes burning with conviction. This is Captain Ilara Sivron, formerly of the Accord Fleet. 3 days ago, a Vossa Sentinel spared my team not out of mercy, but because we passed some part of their test. The Accord has lied to us, covered this up. They triggered Pax Nova's death by silencing its truth. She paused, staring directly into the lens. But now the truth is free. The Vossa are awake, and they are not the only ones. For every world they judged unworthy, another door opened. For every colony they burned, another civilization was watching. We thought we ruled the stars, but we were only squatting in the ruins of a greater empire. We are not the masters. We are the next trial. Lyra launched the transmission. It pierced the veil of deep space, echoed across dead satellites, hidden relay stations, and the minds of telepaths sleeping far from civilization. The truth was out. Irrevocable. Aboard the Vigilant Dawn, the gate began to open. From within, it came no ship, no weapon, no army, but a voice, one that echoed inside every mind on the ship. Male, female, neither. Infinite. Humanity, you have survived judgment. Now you must answer. Will you serve the continuum or stand against it? Ilara felt her spine tighten. A choice, not between life and death, but between submission and defiance, between being archived or evolving. She didn't know what the continuum was, but it felt ancient, galactic, like a council of powers long dormant, waiting for sentient life, to rise far enough to be given a seat or be removed from the table entirely. Halveth raised an eyebrow. Captain? Ilara stared into the swirling gate. She knew what was at stake. A war with the Vossa would doom not just humanity, but every species not yet prepared. But submission? That was the path of silence. Of Eurasia. She stepped forward and spoke clearly into the void. We choose neither, we choose to know. The gate pulsed once, then opened completely. Light engulfed the bridge. For a moment, the crew saw everything. Millions of worlds. A fractal map of existence, beings shaped like time and gravity and song. They saw the rise and fall of empires written in starlight. And then, just as quickly, it ended. The gate sealed, and in its place, a star was born. Lyra gasped. It gave us a system. Halveth whispered, No, a home. The Vigilant Dawn turned its engines toward the newborn star, the first ship of a new age. Behind them, the Accord would crumble. Ahead of them, the Vossa would watch. And somewhere deep in the roots of the galaxy, the continuum waited for humanity to decide what it would become. Would they rise, or would they vanish into legend like all the others? That was up to us. If you've been gripped by this tale of ancient judges, hidden truths and galaxy-shaping choices, like this video and share it with every sci-fi fan you know. Drop a comment. Would you trust the Vossa or defy them? And remember, in the cold dark of space, someone is always watching.